Thank you everyone for viewing our ENGtalk today. Our session will provide some tips on how to protect your business, as well as some key information as to how to navigate through your insurance portfolio. My name is Chelsea Howard. I'm a director with BMS Canada Risk Services with 14 years of experience in the insurance industry. I'm a certified risk manager and fellow chartered insurance professional. The main focus of my career has been on the development and servicing of insurance programs for various types of professionals.
And my name is Kelly Chapell, and like Chelsea, I too am a director at BMS Canada Risk Services. I've been in the insurance industry for just shy of 20 years now, with a primary focus on commercial insurance, including professional liability. I hold my charter insurance professional designation along with the broker equivalent, which is the Canadian Accredited Insurance Broker designation.
Before we begin, we'll tell you a little bit about BMS. As a specialist broker, BMS works with over 800,000 professionals through partnerships with over 70 associations, both national and provincial, with OSPI being one of them. We work with thousands of architects and engineers across Canada, and group insurance allows you to gain access to specialized service, risk resources, and comprehensive competitive coverage at competing rates. The program and service that BMS offers to OSPI members includes direct access to knowledgeable insurance brokers specializing in the architects and engineers sector, review of your business services to ensure that your current insurance portfolio meets your specific needs, review of insurance requirements for contracts in a quick and timely manner, claims advocacy, the ability to secure quotes to benchmark your current coverage, free insurance portfolio reviews, and free consultations on insurance-related matters.
Now we're going to talk about professional liability insurance. So why, as an engineer, should you hold professional liability insurance? The answer to that is because you can be found legally responsible for the professional errors, omissions, and negligent acts associated with your work as an engineer. And we can present the following case study as an example. An electrical engineer was asked to review drawings and plans for the electrical system of a new condo project, which was originally drafted by another engineering firm. The engineer approved the drawings, but she failed to recognize that the conductors were undersized for the ampacity of the circuits. Unfortunately, the entire building had to be rewired, causing delays and adding significant cost to the project. Although the drawings and plans were prepared by another engineer, the electrical engineer who sealed and approved the plans was also named in the lawsuit. And as the client relied on her professional expertise to identify any issues with the plans, she was held liable for a portion of the damage. So E&O also covers legal defense costs, as well as damages awarded and settlement costs.
Clients often ask us how insurance premiums are calculated. So there's quite a few factors that go into an insurer's calculation of premium, and any changes to any of these factors could potentially cause a notable difference in the final cost. So here are some of the main factors that an underwriter will take into consideration. Annual fees. This helps to determine the volume of services that an engineering firm is delivering. So more services that you provide, the greater exposure that you have. The amount of work subcontracted. So engineering firms that are subcontracted should carry their own primary professional liability insurance, and this is taken into account by the underwriter. But there is still a level of exposure that exists when you are subcontracting work to another firm. US and foreign exposure. Some jurisdictions are more litigious than others. Type of engineering disciplines. Statistically, the frequency and severity of claims are higher in certain disciplines versus others. Type of project and client industries. Similarly, different types of projects and clients could pose higher risks than others. And if you think of a design for a fit up for an office versus designing a bridge, for instance. The retroactive date, and we'll talk about this in the next slide. Your claims history. So depending on how many claims you've had in the past, how severe they were, and what the outcome of the claims were, do impact the premium or can. And if you have had a claim, we would recommend that you discuss it with your broker, especially try to communicate any risk control measures that you've taken or any changes that you made within your business to help prevent a similar claim in the future. And finally, limits and deductibles selected.
Next, we'll go over some frequently asked questions when it comes to E&O insurance. The first question is, I was previously insured with another broker or insurer. Will I be covered for claims that might arise based on services rendered by my engineering firm in previous years? The answer is yes. Insurers can align your retroactive date to that on your expiring policy. This will ensure that coverage is in place for claims that could arise from prior acts. What is a retroactive date? A retroactive date is defined as how far back in time a loss can occur for your policy to respond. The next question, do I have to keep buying insurance to stay covered for future claims that might be brought forward after I stop working? And the answer is yes. E&O policies are on a claims-made form, meaning that coverage must be in place at the time that the claim is brought forward, regardless of when the actual incident occurred. This can typically be covered by what is called runoff coverage. And you may ask what runoff coverage is, and it's a designated time period after a claims-made policy has expired that will allow coverage to still apply after you have closed your business or are no longer delivering engineering services. A couple more of the FAQs. First dollar defense. This means that the deductible will not apply to defense costs, thus eliminating the need for you to pay out of pocket before the insurance company will provide a defense. The deductible then only applies to a third-party award payment. If only defense costs are paid out, the deductible will not apply. And it's important to note that not every policy is first dollar defense, so be aware of that when comparing offerings from different insurance companies. Are defense costs in addition to the limit or inclusive of the limit? And what does this mean? This clause will determine if your insurance limit will be eroded by defense costs or if defense costs will be paid in addition to the limit of insurance. So a simple example is if you've got a $1 million policy limit and your defense costs are inside your limit and you have $100,000 of defense costs, then your limit available to pay out in a judgment against you would be reduced down to $900,000.
There are two ways that a professional liability insurance is designed to protect you. The first is for a complaint made against you as an engineer to the regulatory body, such as a PEO. And this is only applicable if your policy includes disciplinary defense costs. This could be an accusation of incompetency, being unethical, poor professional conduct, for example. It occurs when a lawsuit isn't warranted, but the client feels it's important to advise the regulator. And it can lead to requirements for additional education, suspension, fines and penalties, and even the revocation of your license. The second way that the policy protects you is for a civil lawsuit. So this is if there's an actual statement of claim made against you. If damages occur, the plaintiff will typically name everyone that has worked on the project who could have potentially contributed to the damages. The majority of claims are settled out of court and result mainly in defense costs incurred, but could also include an award payment to the plaintiff. A claim can arise from professional errors, contract disputes, peer reviews, miscommunication, vicarious liability, design flaws, among other things. As part of your OSP membership, you also automatically gain access to the secondary professional liability insurance. This coverage is intended to protect individual engineers if their employers or their businesses' primary professional liability insurance coverage is exhausted. The limit per member is $125,000 for an overall limit of $1 million, and no deductible applies. It's not intended to replace a primary professional liability policy, and it excludes claims from employers, as well as coverage for businesses or decision makers. Regulatory requirements. If you're delivering engineering services in Ontario, the PEO requires that you carry a certificate of authorization. All certificate of authorization holders must carry professional liability insurance or disclose to the third-party clients that no insurance is in place. In order for a policy to be approved by the PEO, it must have a minimum limit of $250,000 per claim and $500,000 per policy period. Now, you may require a higher limit depending on your business and services. A deductible that is a maximum of $5,000 or 5%. If you're a larger firm, you may require or will have the ability for a higher deductible. The insurance must be in place with an insurer with aggregate capital and surplus of at least 20 million. And the intention of the policy be for professional liability for engineering services. If insurance is not in place, the certificate of authorization holder must obtain written confirmation from each third-party client confirming they understand and agree that to receive services without insurance being in place, and the written confirmation must be obtained prior to the services being delivered.
So next we're going to talk about cybersecurity and privacy liability. Here are a few things that you can do to protect yourself, mitigate risk for yourself and your business. Questions to be asked. Do you or does your business regularly back up critical data to an offline location, for example, a USB or hard drive, that would be unaffected by an issue within your live environment? And do you test to ensure that backups are recoverable? Do you use multi-factor authentication for cloud-based services such as cloud-based email account access? And this would be for all remote access to your network. Do you allow remote access into your environment without a VPN, virtual private network? And do you regularly, at least annually, provide or take cybersecurity awareness training, including anti-phishing? This should include all individuals who have access to your organization's network or confidential and personal data. So you can imagine, when checking your email, you accidentally click on a malicious link, and this installs malware on your laptop, potentially exposing all the confidential client information you store on that device. Here are some coverage items that you should find in a typical cyber policy. Costs involved with regulatory proceedings relating to the violation of privacy law, including penalties where insurable. Coverage for business interruption. This is your lost revenue if you are unable to operate as normal. Coverage for cyber extortion incidents. This is where a bad actor is holding your information for ransom. Third-party liability for privacy breaches. First-party data protection. This is coverage to assist you with your own network and associated losses. And website content liability as well.
A complete insurance portfolio. If you're a business owner, a primary professional liability insurance may not be enough coverage, and you may need other lines of coverages built into your insurance portfolio. This would include the cybersecurity and privacy liability insurance that Kelly just described, but it could also include the following: commercial general liability insurance, coverage for your property and equipment, access to legal services, builder's risk and wrap-up coverage, directors and officers liability insurance, employment practices liability, travel and accidental death and dismemberment, automobile insurance, and environmental liability insurance.
The next section we'll go over is claims. So the rationale, of course, behind buying insurance is to provide protection in the event of a claim. But what is equally as important is developing a good risk management policy for your practice. Not only will this assist in good business governance, but it will also assist in keeping claims frequencies as low as possible. Nobody wants a headache of having to deal with a claim. So here are some claim prevention tips. Ensure a clear contract is in place prior to the commencement of work. Be mindful of who you hire. Be aware of trends and changes within the industry, including regulatory guidelines. Document, document, document. Clear, concise, and well-written reports. Of course, have insurance. Acknowledge your limitations and experience level when accepting work. Choose your clients carefully. Manage your clients' expectations in peer review and redundancies. We'll go over some do's and don'ts if you are unfortunate enough to be involved in a claim. So do notify your broker or insurer as soon as you are made aware of a claim or potential claim to allow for sufficient and proper action to be taken. Continue to conduct yourself professionally. Utilize resources such as OSPI, your insurance broker, adjuster, and legal counsel. Do not admit liability and do not alter records or falsify information.
So this concludes our presentation. Thank you for watching our video today. If you have any questions regarding the information that was provided in this presentation, or if you have insurance inquiries in general, you can always give us a call at any time. And thank you and have a great day.